A few weeks ago, I revisited a place in World of Warcraft that I hadn't been to in several years. I was actually playing with a friend who's totally new to WoW, and as we were running around in Tirisfal Glades, I remembered this magical, eerie, and dark yet special place, a secluded forest tucked away in the western mountains of Tirisfal, the Whispering Forest. I knew immediately I had to take her there to see and experience the strange ring of mushrooms where sometimes fairy dragons gather around and sing while channeling glowing beams of light. I remembered back in the day you'd have to be extremely lucky to witness this event or be willing to wait anywhere from 3 to 6 hours, but to what I assumed was luck, very shortly after we arrived, the event started. And it was just as beautiful as I remembered. It really struck some heavy nostalgia for me, and although I had some general knowledge of the off-putting lore and speculation of this area, I wanted to know more and really put together a proper video of my findings because personally, despite not going there that often over the years, this is definitely one of my favorite places in all of World of Warcraft. In this video, I'm going to be covering a lot of topics surrounding the Whispering Forest, from the unsettling lore and speculation it has enveloped over the years and the dark secrets hidden underneath the forest. And we'll also explore details such as the frequency of the Faerie Dragon event. The Whispering Forest was added to the game in 2011 with the Cataclysm expansion. It's located in the Eastern Kingdoms in the zone Tirisfal Glades within the mountains just west of the undead starting zone, Death Knell. To get there, you'll of course need a flying mount, but there is another fun way to get there that I wanted to mention as well. Though not a super reliable way to travel there, druids can purchase this nature teleport ability in Moonglade that teleports them to various nature locations, the Whispering Forest being one of them if you're lucky, and it will teleport you directly into the center of the mushroom ring. But for most of us, we'll probably just fly. Once you make your way to the mountains, near the center of the forest is where you'll find the mysterious ring of glowing mushrooms with a cloud of mist hovering over the circle. As I was mentioning, back in the day, coming to the forest to experience the Faerie Dragon event was a pretty rare occurrence. It would happen only every 3 to 6 hours, and slowly, one by one, fairy dragons known as Fae Drunk Darters would spawn in over about 40 minutes until there were 7 fairy dragons, and shortly after they would make their way towards the ring. Nowadays though, if you visit, the event happens so much more frequently and they spawn in more quickly too, which while it's nice you can go see this event more easily, it also takes away from how special and lucky you would feel to observe such a thing. But nowadays it happens 4 times per hour, so roughly every 15 minutes, so good news, you can go check this out right now if you'd like to. Because I was curious and wanted to know more specifics, I personally spent some time observing multiple cycles, and once the first fairy dragon spawns in, they will start spawning in one by one, roughly every 20 seconds or so, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. It takes about 6 to 7 minutes to spawn in all 7 of them, and then when they make their way to the center and start singing and channeling their beams with the music, that actual part of the event lasts pretty much exactly 3 minutes. At that point they all despawn and it's pretty much empty for 5 minutes until they start spawning in again and the cycle repeats. As you watch the event, you'll notice fairy dragons aren't the only creatures in the forest. As their singing begins, the stag and sickly deer of the forest gather around the ring curiously to observe the strange lights and music, and before you know it, 3 minutes is up and the fairy dragons and their beams of light despawn at once, and all the deer and stags start to slowly walk away deep into the forest until they despawn as well. Now, on the surface, seeing this take place and hearing the beautiful music and seeing the lights might seem like just a cute little innocent event, but it is much darker. What is truly going on in the Whispering Forest, and why are the fairy dragons there, and what are they doing? If we delve into the history of fairy dragons, their job is literally policing the Emerald Dream and keeping corruption at bay. They are immune to most forms of magic, making them formidable protectors against dark influences. So while the fairy dragon's gathering appears enchanting and innocent, it actually serves a deeper purpose in safeguarding against the ancient darkness that that lurks beneath the surface. The speculation amongst the player base over the years is that maybe an old god lay beneath, or something evil and dark of the sort. So it's pretty common knowledge that that's why the Faerie Dragon are there and why they perform their ritual. And to further the suspicion of something ominous below, it's been theorized that this region might have been the initial landing site of the High Elves in the Eastern Kingdoms. However, after a few years, a wave of madness swept through their ranks, leading to speculation that a malevolent force slumbered beneath the forest. Faced with this growing unease, the High Elves eventually abandoned their encampment and journeyed northward to found their new home, Quel'Thalas. So with all of this, we have a lot of hints that there is in fact something evil, but for many years we were only left to speculate about the ominous presence, and the most we got as an answer from Blizzard was, there's something incredibly unsettling there, but it's not an old god. It isn't recommended to go digging through the glades though. But thankfully, fast forward a few years, in 2016 with the release of the Legion expansion, we finally got some answers due to the introduction of artifact weapons and the quest chains that come along with them. Shadow Priests embarked on a journey to acquire Xal'atath, Blade of the Black Empire, an ancient artifact dating back to the time of the Old Gods' Black Empire. Meanwhile, Arms Warriors pursued Stromkar, the legendary weapon of Thoradin, the first king of Erethdor. Both of these quests led us to the Whispering Forest and into a long-forgotten secret tomb beneath the lake that was torn open by the Twilight's Hammer cultists and their new leader, Deacon Bishop Farthing. This ancient tomb is the resting place of not only the great Titan Watcher Tyr, who fell during the War of the Titans. And fun fact, Tirisfal Glades was named after Tyr, as Tirisfal means Tyr's fall in the Rykul tongue. But also resting in the tomb is a terrible beast named Zakaj the Corruptor, servant of the old god Yogg-Saron. So the Twilight cultist's new leader, Deacon Bishop Farthing, seeks to revive the corpse of Zakaj using the weapon Xal'atath to further the plans of the Twilight's Hammer. And as a Shadow Priest, it is your quest to enter the tomb to stop the Deacon and take up Xal'atath yourself and drain the essence of Zakaj to ensure he is gone forever. Or, as an Arms Warrior, you have a slightly different quest but will also be required to go into the tomb beneath the lake, and your mission is to finish what Thoradin, the first king of Erethdor, started by confronting and vanquishing Zakaj for good. Embedded within Zakaj's skull lies Thoradin's legendary weapon, Stromkar. So there we have it. Through these quests that came out in Legion, we now know the secrets of the Whispering Forest. The true menace lurking beneath was none other than Zakaj the Corruptor, servant of the old god Yogg-Saron. Zakaj's presence below for thousands of years, even though he was technically dead, would surely cause corruption to the land, and of course we all know that whenever there's something relating to old gods, it involves whispers, thus the name of the forest is well fitting. And who knows, Zakaj, being a servant of Yogg-Saron, the god of death, could even have something to do with the quote from the Wrath of the Lich King cinematic where Tyrannus says, "My son, the day you were born, the very forests of Lordaeron whispered the name Arthas." So maybe Yogg-Saron had more of a literal impact on Arthas becoming the Lich King. But who knows? Anyways, back to the point of the video, it's reasonable to assume that all along the Faerie Dragons served as guardians, striving to contain Zakaj's dark influence, maybe even keeping him from waking up after all these thousands of years. However, while the discovery sheds some light on the forest mysteries, it may feel somewhat underwhelming compared to the epic anticipation of encountering an actual old god, and all we got instead was just a servant of one. But it's still cool to know that we know now, and it explains why the High Elves were likely driven mad when they first settled in this area. So the next time you're visiting the Whispering Forest, you can appreciate its enchanting allure with a deeper understanding of the Faerie Dragon's role in safeguarding against the ancient darkness. And lastly, before I go, there's a few more fun little things I want to share about the Whispering Forest and its surrounding areas. The first one I wanted to share is about this diseased bear that I actually wasn't going to include because I felt like he wasn't that special, but he is the only other creature in the forest and it's just one diseased bear. And upon further observation, it turns out that he just randomly despawns after he walks his route, takes a little nap, then stands up and just disappears. So I thought that that was kind of interesting and worth noting. And the second time I watched him, he gave me a little roar before he despawned. The next one is over near the Twilight Cultist camp. There's a little abandoned fisherman's camp, and unfortunately he suffered a tragic fate with a knife, but he still has this nice little setup, nice little seat, and it looks like his worms are still kicking it. This next one is probably one of my favorite things that I found here, and there is 4 underwater breathing rats. I'm not really sure what they're doing or why they're here, but I think they are adorable and a little bit creepy as well. And my theory is that maybe the fisherman was trying to fish them up because the spot is right nearby. And then a bit deeper in the lake, there's also this crash plane, which I think goes along really nicely with the fisherman's story. And I think that this is his plane. There's no body in the plane anymore, so he must have made his way up to shore and set up a camp to try to fish up some food. But then he died, so yeah. And this is the last one I wanted to show you guys. It's kind of unrelated to the Whispering Forest itself. This is actually on Classic World of Warcraft. There's actually a way to get up in behind and go to where the Whispering Forest would later be in Cataclysm. And it's like this cool, like, out of bounds area with like weird stuff going on. And I just thought it was really interesting. If you guys want me to make a separate video about how to get up here on Classic WoW, I would love to do that. But that's all the cool, random, interesting facts that I have about the Whispering Forest. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was kind of my first time making sort of a lore video, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And I think it was a pretty good practice round for me to kind of step into the realm of making more lore videos, so I do plan to do that in the future. I'm mostly aiming to make more beginner, new player kind of guides, so if you have any requests in terms of that kind of stuff, I'd love to hear it. Feel free to also join my Discord. I'm trying to grow more of a World of Warcraft community on there, and sometimes you can catch me live on Twitch where I host transmog and mount event things where you can kind of join me live on my Twitch to do some transmog and mount runs. The best way to stay up to date with when I'm streaming on Twitch is to join my Discord and follow me on my Instagram, Lady Survival WoW. Anyways, don't want to keep you guys too long. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!